Mitch was struck by the realization that although he was young, healthy, and successful, his friend and teacher who was dying was a happier, more peaceful person. Mitch reevaluated his own priorities, coming to terms with his workaholic ambitions and the feeling that he had lost sight of things of real value. He wrote about how, without even realizing it, he had slowly abandoned his youthful ideals to become cynical, shallow, and materialistic. In his final days, Morrie Schwartz helped his former student to refocus on his life, to slow down and enjoy the moment. I knew the second I saw Morrie on Nightline that my life was in for a loop. The first time I arrived at my old Professor Morrie's house, I could feel the guilt churning inside my stomach. I told him after college that we would keep in touch, but I never did. After my uncle died, I wanted to live for now, no more thinking about the past. I started to live for money, and this overcame me. Money became something I only thought about. Instead of starting a family with my wife, I worked to make money. I had been having talks with Morrie for 11 Tuesdays now. The 11th week we talked about culture. I remember Morrie always had a passion for good food, and ever since my second visit, I had been bringing him food. I guess I thought it was something nice I could do to take his mind off the pain he was in. I really do feel like it was the only gift I could have given him, other than the gift of my company and friendship. Morrie's disease is spreading dangerously close to his lungs, and he's going to die soon. Morrie was no longer to eat the solid food I had been bringing him during the previous weeks. This kind of reminded me of how helpless I felt when my uncle died. I felt powerless in helping Morrie, my best friend, combat this disease. As usual, Morrie's therapist came in to work with him. I usually just excused myself from the situation. I got kind of embarrassed. But this week, instead of simply watching them work with Morrie, I wanted to learn how to best help him. And I did. I got myself involved and learned how to effectively release the poison from Morrie's lungs through massage. It's pretty neat. I definitely remember how much helping out with Morrie really helped me break out of the shell of always being so self-conscious about everything I was doing. Not being so embarrassed about what other people think of me was a skill that has helped me so much in life. I could handle routine things that would have made me embarrassed or squeamish before without a problem. I will never forget Morrie's unremitting belief in the inherent good of people. To this day, years later, I can still hear his voice in my head saying that people are only mean when they're threatened. And that's what our culture does. That's what our economy does. Even people who have jobs in our economy are threatened because they worry about losing them. And when you get threatened, you start looking out only for yourself. You start making money a god. It is all part of this culture. Morrie taught me how to live for people and relationships, not just for money. We talked about how the way to only truly escape the way society views people and money is to create your own personal subculture. There are obvious rules that one has to follow, like, for example, not running a red light. It's important to obey the little things, but the big things, like how we as individuals act, think, and what we value, are things we must decide for ourselves. He taught me not to believe the voices in society. They shouldn't dictate what we have to think. This was a lesson I was due to learn. Morrie also said one of the biggest defects we have as humans is our short-sightedness. Not seeing our full potential of who we can be, who we dream to be. We should be striving every day to reach our full potential by surrounding ourselves with good people. At the time, I thought my full potential was already being reached by making money and having a successful career. But shortly after, I learned that all in all, the most important investment I could make is the one in the human family. Investing in people and building a community of those who love me and those people that I love. Morrie taught me that in life, the material things don't really matter in the end. It's all about the people. Because at some point in our life, from infant to elderly, we're going to depend on somebody for something. Today, years after the death of my dear friend and professor, Morrie Schwartz, I am living life how Morrie would have wanted me to. I am creating my own subculture. I just wish he could have seen me living my life this way when he was alive. My wife now has a baby on the way. a boy to be named Morrie. His name will now live on to the next generation. Morrie may be gone, but his life lessons will never be forgotten. I will see to it that the legacy of Morrie will live on to see generations long past me, or my son, or my grandchildren will see. Thank you, Morrie.